Hey guys, it is Jolena here and welcome back to my channel. It has been a while. I posted some singing videos, but it's been a while since I've actually sat down and opened the camera. It's just been kind of just a crazy time. As you all may know, or may not know, hi, I'm Jolena. I am an English teacher living in Seoul, South Korea. I have been living here for the past roughly 2 years. It will be 3 years in August. Yeah, it will be 3 years in August. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. It will be 3 years in August. And then in March of next year, it would have been 3.5 years that I will have been living in Korea. And I made a video a while back talking about my routine, my daily routine in the day in the life of like an English teacher in Korea. But stuff has changed since then. I think I talked about this in a video. I recently have decided to move to Seoul. I moved to Seoul. I've been in Seoul for a year now. Crazy. March of 2025, I moved from my rural city in Yangpyeong to the middle of Seoul. And I just kind of want to talk about like the life differences between my old town and my current town, because I feel like it is significantly different, and I need to let anyone know who's coming to Korea or who is currently living in a rural town in Korea and wants to move to Seoul, just kind of the differences in what my life has been like living in Seoul, and what has been difficult, what has been easy, what to expect, I guess, moving to Seoul. Also, by the way, I am in EPIC, so I am not at a Hagwon. I'm teaching through EPIC, which is the government program. So let's start off with why I moved to Seoul. So originally, Seoul was always my plan. I wanted to come to Seoul ever since I arrived in Korea. Like, that was always my dream, because that's where everything is. Like, I'm a K-pop fan, so my biggest goal, the reason why I moved to Korea, is because I wanted to experience K-pop and I wanted to see my idols and I wanted to have a lot of experiences. And that is why I moved to Korea. Korea was my dream country in high school, and I originally wanted Seoul, but I got placed in Gyeonggi-do, Yangpyeong. It is very difficult to get Seoul on your first try. So I didn't get it on my first try, but I know people who did. It's just about getting your documents in really, really fast. And so I was like, I want Seoul, I want Incheon, something like a city that's close to Seoul. And they were like, are you flexible? I was like, yeah. So they put me in Gyeonggi-do. But that's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in the center of everything. I had to go to Seoul to meet my friends. So it just felt natural that I should live in Seoul. I felt irritated, being there. Also, cause I felt kind of like I was gonna be done with Korea soon. I did feel that way. And so I was like, I don't want to leave Korea and regret not moving to Seoul and experiencing Seoul life. So I was kind of in a debate with myself about leaving Korea, and I was like, no, I have to go and I have to try for my dream, which was Seoul, and we have to try at least 1 year in Seoul, and if we don't like it, then we just I don't know, move home or something. So yeah, I ended up moving to Seoul through EPIC, and because I didn't like Gyeonggi life. Gyeonggi life is it's not for the young foreigner, especially if you like K-pop, especially if you like meeting your friends. It is not ideal, because you are out in a very rural area. There's not a lot of people, and the people that are out there are usually old or they're kids, and there's no K-pop events out there whatsoever, unless you're in maybe Goyang area or Gimpo area. And it's just kind of isolating, to be honest. It's kind of isolating, especially if you don't know many people in Korea. You're separated from your friends. It's hard to meet your friends on the weekdays because you're just all all over the place. Especially if you don't have a friend in a nearby town. It's just not good. Things are very spread out, so you need a car and transportation. The bus near me didn't come until every like 30 minutes. So basically if you missed the bus and you were like out in the freezing cold, you essentially couldn't get on the next bus for another 30 minutes, and you'd be waiting out in the freezing cold for 30 minutes. The amount of days I had stayed at school after school just because like I was like, I'm gonna miss the bus at this point, and I'd rather just stay in my warm school than running down the street going to catch the, or then like gonna be at the bus stop and then like I don't know, like standing out in the freezing cold for like 30 minutes. So yeah, those are like kind of the main reasons why I left Gyeonggi-do, and I feel like that's super, super important because I'm talking about the differences between living in Seoul and living in the rural areas. So that's kind of like to give you some background on why I moved to Seoul. That was always the goal from day one. The first thing I want to say about living in Seoul versus rural is transportation. When you are living in the rural town, as I just said, buses and subways don't come frequently, don't come often. When you are living in Seoul, it is so much easier to get around, so much easier. Like literally from where I'm living right now, there is a bus right outside, and I can catch that bus to get to the nearest subway. I don't live near a subway, but I can get on a bus to either go like anywhere nearby, or I can get on a bus to take me to the subway that will take me to other places. So it's just really, really convenient. The buses here usually come every 5 to 10 minutes, roughly, depending on the bus and depending on the route. So transportation here in Seoul is just amazing. If you go to the subways come pretty frequently as well. The bus system can be kind of whack, but the subway is usually pretty reliable. So yeah, in Seoul, you can get anywhere you need to within a reasonable amount of time. And the buses and subways are very quick, very fast, very bali, and just really nice to have coming from such a small town. The next thing, social life. I have made so many friends in Seoul that I have met since moving to Seoul. So I had friends in Korea before Seoul, but now I have friends in Seoul because I was able to go out to different like events in different areas and be more social. And I'm able to I actually have friends living in Seoul, and I can actually see them on any given weekday. One of my friends, she also moved closer to Seoul within Gyeonggi-do, because she had a special situation. And so like we are so close to each other now. Like if we want to meet up on a random Wednesday night and like go to Hongdae, we can. Before, I was living an hour and 10 minutes away from Hongdae, so it was a long commute to get to Hongdae. So just being able to like meet my friends easily is so nice. And also like on the weekends, my friends that don't live in Seoul, they come to Seoul. Like it's just, Seoul is the middle of foreigners like social life. Like I can't imagine living in Korea as a foreigner and not living in Seoul, like, or living nearby Seoul, because that is where like everybody meets, like especially foreigner friendly events, foreigner friendly food, foreigner friendly literally anything is like in Seoul. So it just makes you feel more at home, especially when you have people that are like you around you and you can easily meet your friends. Like Seoul life is very good if you are a social foreigner as well. And I don't really party that much, but if you like to party as well, that's nice. My house is like probably roughly 30 minutes away from Hongdae. So like I could go to Hongdae on any given night. I won't, but just because it's too many people and I'm kind of over it now. I've been here for like over 2 years. I'm like over it. But yeah, when you first come here, it's nice. So yeah, like it is really nice for your social life. You can meet all kinds of people and you can meet people more easily and more frequently. Next thing, food. In my I'm someone, I don't cook often. And when I was in my old town, I would just order delivery and I would order the same things like every day. Like I would order the same pork cutlet like every day because we didn't have a lot of restaurants. Our delivery app only allowed us to deliver from like 7 places. I was starving in my old town basically. But in Seoul, which is kind of a good and bad thing. In Seoul, you're exposed to so many different kinds of cultures, foods and so many different types of foods and a lot of like really big supermarkets nearby. So it's just really nice if you like to cook. There's access to lots of different resources. And if you don't like to cook, well, then you can literally go on your phone and download like Coupang Eats or like Minjok. Is it Minjok? Yeah, Minjok, Beidao Minjok. When I first moved to Seoul, I'm kind of cutting down because I'm trying to save money. But when I first moved to Seoul, I would order delivery like at least 2 or 3 times a week because you can get anything you want. You can get KFC, you can get McDonald's, you can get chicken wings, you can get Korean food, Chinese food, Vietnamese food, all different kinds of food, Mexican food, anything just delivered, Taco Bell, even just delivered to your front door. And it's super quick, super fast, and it doesn't have as many like extra fees and stuff like, you know, like Uber Eats and things. It's like in the States, and it's quick and it's convenient and it's just really nice. So food is one of the biggest reasons also why I moved to Seoul as well, and being able to go out on the weekends with your friends and just eat whatever your heart desires is so nice as well. Next thing, apartment. Okay, apartment, you have to realize apartment is very specific to the specific person. Everyone's gonna have a different apartment situation. For some people that I know, in their old rural towns, the apartments are like amazing and they're like really, really big. Some people even have their own living room, their own like room, this, that, and the other. When I moved to Gyeonggi-do, I expected to have a really big apartment, and I did not get that. My apartment was not small, but it was not big either. It was okay. It was like a decent size, but it was definitely not as big as some other people's apartments, so I was kind of disappointed, but it wasn't bad, and my neighbors were pretty good, so it was a nice area. It was just that like it was like on top of a hill, so I had to like trek up the hill every day to get to my house, which sucked. But yeah, it was fine. Moving to Seoul, I was super nervous because I heard so many things about bad apartments in Seoul, mold problems, bugs, just really tiny apartments. Because my friend that lived in Seoul at the time, like she had a really small, tiny apartment that she hated. So I was really nervous. But honestly, I do feel like I got lucky. I did kind of hit the Seoul apartment lottery. My apartment is approximately the same size as my old apartment back in Gyeonggi-do. When I moved to Seoul, actually my mover, he was like, your apartment is actually low-key bigger than your old one. And I don't know if I believe him on that, but I will say that like I have like a little like kitchenette, and I have like a little table, and my bathroom is like a separated bathroom, separated sink and separated like shower area, which a lot of people don't get that living in Seoul. They usually have a really small apartment, no cabinet space, no counter, no separate shower. The shower is usually like it shares the same hose with the shower and the sink. So I got really, really, really lucky with my apartment. So the apartment, it just depends on your school. So you're just kind of taking a gamble, but that's just epic in general. So you have to get used to it. But yeah. Next thing, area access. I live in a really nice area of Seoul. I'm just going to say that I live in Seoul-daemun. I'm not going to say the specific area. But I do live in Seoul-daemun. So it's kind of like in between Hongdae, Mapo area, and Gyeonggi-do, which is like the center of Seoul. My area is really nice because I go to Gyeonggi-do often and I go to Hongdae area very often. If you're a K-pop fan, you know like there's birthday cafes in Hongdae. There's always all sorts of pop-ups and things in Hongdae, which is really, really nice. Concert venues are in Hongdae. Gyeonggi-do is really nice because you're near the palaces, you're near a bunch of markets, you're near a lot of tourist attractions. But my area is kind of in the middle, and it's kind of like this calm place. It's calm. So it's like Hongdae is super chaotic. Gyeonggi-do is also very super chaotic. Then you have Seoul-daemun, which is very, very calm, but it's still easy access to both areas. So I got really lucky. But you may be in the really busy, bustling city of Gangnam, which is on the way other side of Seoul from Hongdae. So it's like an hour. But I feel like mine is really nice because, again, I don't go to Gangnam often. I don't go to Jamsil often. Gangnam and Jamsil and Seongsu, like I don't go there often because it is so far. So If you're not like in the city center, it's going to take you a while to get to the other side of Seoul. Like if you're in Gangnam, it's gonna take you a while to get to Hongdae. If you're in Hongdae, it's gonna take you a long time to get to Gangnam. But like I said, transportation in Seoul is really nice. So it kind of just, the pros outweigh the cons, right? Next is the school. So my school is pretty good. My school is honestly not much bigger than my old school. My old school, even though it was in the rural town, it had about roughly 300 kids. My new school has roughly a little bit over 500 kids, which is small for Seoul, but you can be in Seoul and get 500 kids. You can get 100 kids in Seoul. You can also get 1,000 kids in Seoul. So Seoul is very much a gamble when it comes to the schools. And also being at a bigger school and being in Seoul means I have more students, but I also have more co-teachers. So at my old school, I had only one co-teacher that I taught with all of the classes. No, not all of the classes. Some of the classes, then I taught with homeroom teachers, some of the classes. But with my new school, I teach with 4 co-teachers. I have a different co-teacher every single day. They're also in charge of their own things. They have a lot going on their plate as well. But I teach with 4 different co-teachers. I teach with a different teacher every day. So our schedules are, sorry for the light. Our schedules are a little bit different. But luckily I get along with all 4 of my co-teachers, but I know that it can be, again, a gamble. If you have multiple co-teachers, it's multiple people you have to get along with, multiple people you have to coordinate lessons with. Every co-teacher has their different style of teaching, so you kind of just have to work with them. But my co-teachers are very, very sweet and very kind, and I'm very lucky. But there's a con. So at my school, I am a games teacher. If you don't know what a game teacher is, a game teacher is basically someone who just does games with the kids. So usually your co-teacher will teach 20 minutes of the lesson with them, focusing on like the book, the textbook, and the grammar. And then you teach the last 20 minutes, and it's usually a game. Being a games teacher, it's fun at first. Do I have a lot of work? No. Am I bored a lot of the time? Yeah. It's really fun at first. But after a while, I think it can kind of get a little irritating, especially when you know you are capable of more. Like I have my degree is in teaching, which I kind of regret, but we're not gonna talk about that yet. My degree is in teaching, so it kind of feels a little demeaning when you know you're capable of actually teaching a class, but you're just like, okay, let's play a game with Jelena teacher. Like it kind of sucks. And I know it's like, okay, maybe I could say something to my school, but sometimes you just don't want to ruffle feathers. And it's like multiple teachers are having me as game teachers, so it feels like that's just all they like, that's what they think is the easiest route for me. And at first it was fun, but after a while it gets kind of annoying and boring, and kids don't see you as a real teacher, and it just is kind of just not fun. I'd rather actually teach the kids than just play a game with them all the time. It gets a little annoying. So be aware of that. You could be a game teacher, or you could actually teach. I know some people who live in Seoul and they're actually teachers at their school, so it just depends on your co-teacher. The last thing I want to talk about, pay and vacation time. Lovely. So everyone in Epic gets 26 days of vacation time, so don't worry about that. But, so in Seoul, there is a different pay than Gyeonggi-do. I will just say that the pay in Seoul is pretty low. It's pretty low. It is basically minimum wage in America, roughly. The pay in Gyeonggi-do is also very low, but I will say that Gyeonggi-do gives you a bonus if you renew. So when you renew every single year, you'll get a bonus, plus your monthly pay will go higher. But in Gyeonggi-do, it's like 2 million won. 2 million won bonus every year. One at the beginning of your start of your contract and one at the end. In Seoul, unfortunately, because you live in Seoul, because you have easy access to everything, because a lot of people want to live in Seoul, because Seoul is very competitive and Seoul is very expensive in general. In Seoul, you have to earn less money. So not only is our pay scale lower than the rest of the country, which I think might have changed because of recently they gave us a raise. You lose that renewal bonus. I really miss that renewal bonus. That renewal bonus is so nice, especially if you're trying to go visit home or something or go on vacation. They give you that renewal bonus every year in Gyeonggi-do. in Seoul, when you renew, you do not get a renewal bonus. And so you don't get it in money. What you get is you get 5 extra days of vacation, which, to be honest, in the last year, it was actually really good because I went home for the holidays. So I was able to spend 3.5 weeks with my family in the US. And then I was able to come back to Korea for like a week or two. And then I was back out and I was able to go on like a little solo trip to Taiwan, which I can talk about Taiwan if you guys want me to, if you guys want me to talk about my travels in Korea. But yeah, so you lose out on money by living in Seoul. Just expect that. You are not going to have as much money as your friends that are not living in Seoul, but it just kind of is a part of the whole I'm in Seoul thing. And because you live in Seoul, they feel like they can treat you however they want to. So just take that as it resonates and to your own situation if you want that or not. Overall, I will say moving to Seoul was a really good decision. Like, overall, I will say that moving to Seoul was a really, really good decision. Honestly, like I was really worried moving here because I had heard so many bad things like, oh my God, your teachers are gonna be horrible, your apartment's gonna be horrible, living in Seoul is like not all it's cracked up to be, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, for me personally, it was the best decision. You have to figure out what's the best decision for you. And for me personally, I felt like moving to Seoul was the best decision to be with my friends, to be able to experience K-pop. I got to go to some fan signs, which I would have never been able to go to because of the timing out in Gyeonggi-do. And I got to meet so many cool people by like joining extracurricular type things. And like having hobbies and stuff, joining classes of things. And I've been able to like do so many things that I would have never been able to do had I still been living in living in Gyeonggi-do. So yeah, that's just my personal opinion, but some people love the quieter, slower life of the rural towns, and you get more money out there as well, and you usually have less students. So I mean, really it's up to you. But in my opinion, I think that moving to Seoul was my best decision. So I think a lot of people, if you go into Epic and you don't get Seoul at first, it's okay. Come to Korea, do 1 year out in the rural city. You'll actually get a different experience than other people who just came to Seoul straight away. You'll be able to see other parts of the country, enjoy, live your life in that rural town for 1 year, and then apply for a transfer and get your documents in super, super fast if you really want Seoul. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want to know more about Epic or just traveling or just life in Korea in general, I would be happy to make more videos. Also, please go check out my singing videos if you haven't. And follow me on TikTok too, Pink Sky 15. And I will see you in my next video.